You're listening to No Good Music from the Archives. We are going to talk about Seinfeld, and now this is one of my favorite shows. I've got two TV shows that I really like. The Honeymooners, which is a really old show, and Seinfeld, they're right up there, number one. I don't know how you... Seinfeld has to be...
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. Jim, I was out of the country, and I come back from Hong Kong, and you're like, you got to see this show.
The 90s.
You got to see this show. Yeah, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I didn't start watching it until... this is the thing. The first episode was a pilot, and that was in 1989, and then it came... back the next year. They included, I guess, the pilot as the first episode, but I remember taping these on VHS.
Wow.
And I remember having not missed a show, like the original air date.
Right.
Except for one, and my wife and I were in Las Vegas on our honeymoon, and we were probably, out and about that night.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to see... And I might not have seen, I don't know what show it was. I could probably look it up, but I must have had to wait or not see that show until it was in syndication.
Wow.
That episode.
Your honeymoon one that you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they replayed some of the shows. Maybe they did, Now
those who are listening probably know the four main characters already.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to review that or not, but.
Yeah, we have, of course, Jerry Seinfeld. He was the creator of the show. He created it with Larry David, who people probably still know because
well-known
Curb Your Enthusiasm. We have Julie Louis-Dreyfus. I always want to say Louise, but it's Louis. Jason Alexander, George, and Michael Richards as Kramer. Now, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, she went on to a show, I think it was on HBO, called Veep.
Okay.
And she won some awards for that show. So she had a good career after Seinfeld. Most of these people don't need to work anymore.
Right.
Jerry Seinfeld is worth about $800 million.
Wow.
Larry David's worth $600 million.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
And Larry David, for those who don't know, you also can see him make his guest appearances on SNL.
Yeah.
As Bernie.
Sanders.
He does a great Bernie. You can't look at that without laughing.
So the guy who plays Bernie Sanders on SNL was one of the writers on Seinfeld. He wrote for about the first 6 or 7 seasons. He did leave the show towards the end.
Now, it's very interesting that after 2 years, I think they were working with NBC then, even just 2 years, Larry David says to Jerry Seinfeld, let's not renew the contract. I don't think I have any more stories to tell.
Yeah.
And Jerry went ahead and said, no, we're moving forward.
That was after, I think, the first season.
Okay. I thought it was after 2, but it's early on. And it's just interesting to not have, maybe after 10 years, you run out of, they were after 9 years, they're running out of stories to tell, but I thought that part was interesting. So originally it was called the Seinfeld Chronicles, and I never knew that. That was something new from this reading here, because just one word, Seinfeld, does say it all, and it just makes me laugh to think of the Seinfeld Chronicles. Hey, have you watched the Seinfeld Chronicles last night?
Yeah,
it's just kind of strange. So the show is known for specific episodes. Some really made it into the culture of today. The Chinese restaurant, filmed only in the lobby of a Chinese restaurant the whole half hour.
Yeah.
And the parking garage, same thing. It said that this was the only show that was not filmed before a live audience. They're in a parking garage.
Yeah.
So it must have been a different feel for the comedic flow, being in a parking garage.
And the thing, they filmed on a soundstage. And even the scenes where you think they're walking down the street, supposedly it was a New York City soundstage.
Amazing.
Which I didn't know. I thought maybe they filmed some outside stuff. I mean, there's some where they're out on if they're driving the car, I guess, I don't know how big the soundstage is.
I don't know, but the cars, when they're in the cars, it does kind of look the fake
and how they
car
would change
scenes.
the buildings. Mm-hmm. I think the exterior shots were actual buildings, because I know the diner is Tom's Diner in New York,
right?
Which was made famous by Suzanne Vega, Tom's Diner.
I love
the
it.
diner
I love
talking
it.
about.
And it's many edits. Mm-hmm.
So if you've seen this show, Seinfeld, you'll know it's the show described as a show about nothing.
And people say that all the time, right?
So in 2014, Seinfeld stated that the pitch for the show, the real pitch, when Larry and I went to NBC in 1988, was we want to show how a comedian gets his material.
Mm-hmm. Being Seinfeld. Mm-hmm.
And the show about nothing was just a joke in an episode many years later. And Larry and I, to this day, are surprised that it caught on as a way that people describe the show. Because to us, it's the opposite of that.
That's interesting.
And we're going to go over our top 5, or our 5 favorite, I should say, episodes. And I really went into them deep, but I'm going to kind of skim over it a little bit. But I did notice there is a lot going on in the episodes.
Right. And I think you have to have a certain kind of humor to love the show. I have friends in Virginia, I'm thinking of 2 people in particular, who hate it. And so I think if you hate it, you don't enjoy what it is presenting, and that is the irony, incongruity, and often sometimes unfortunate coincidences that happen in our lives. And so to examine and make fun of the mundane in your life, that's what the show's doing.
Yeah.
And so without that, I think it's the same people that maybe don't like satire, don't actually like the show. Something else about the show here, it says that it offers no growth or reconciliation among its characters. It eschews sentimentality. So you don't see the characters learn from their mistakes.
No.
And you don't see them grow.
And they're not really nice people.
Right.
I mean, well, George, everything bothers him.
Yeah.
He's neurotic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really learn from their consequences.
And I think Elaine and Kramer and George, they're all hyped up. They're all kind of on caffeine or something else.
Because I'm like ice, buddy. When I don't like you, you got problems.
Where Jerry's just the straight man, It also says in some of this material I found, it says they had a no hugging, no learning rule.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you're not going to learn anything, and no hugging, and I love you, and you don't see that. You don't see that growth in their characters.
Yeah.
And that's definitely I can see that in Larry David all the way.
So this is something I didn't know. There was an episode that was written for season 2 called The Bet, in which Elaine buys a gun from Kramer's friend.
Wow.
This episode wasn't filmed because the content was deemed unacceptable and was replaced by the episode The Phone Message.
Was it just about a gun? Is it the gun itself? Being in New York City, the 80s. The 80s was a huge period of cutting down on crime in New York City.
Yeah.
And it was dangerous to be in New York City in the 70s and early 80s. And I'm just wondering, in the 90s, maybe they're sensitive to that. It's really possible. Now, I have to mention as well, when I mentioned 2 other well-known episodes, I don't know whether I should mention or not, because, Jim, maybe it's one of your favorites and maybe you're going to talk about it. But I want to mention it here.
Okay.
And that's The Contest.
Okay. There's no bell.
No bell.
Okay.
So The Contest, they were able to have a whole contest and talk throughout the whole show and not actually mention a word. And I'm not even going to say the word here, which is, giving yourself pleasure.
Yeah.
So that's The Contest. A lot of people know about that episode.
So there were some other actors that were considered for the parts of the main characters.
Wow, the 4 main characters.
Yeah. Elaine, they were looking at Megan Mullally. I don't know if she's on Will and Grace.
Okay.
She's got a high-pitched voice. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, Rosie O'Donnell tried out for the part.
Wow. Okay.
But Jerry said it was decided she wasn't right for the role. Now, this is from a 2017 interview with Howard Stern.
Mm-hmm.
So Howard Stern threw out some names who were almost cast as George: Paul Schaefer, Danny DeVito, Steve Buscemi, and David Alan Grier, who was on In Living Color.
Yeah.
And Jerry said he didn't recall any of them being strongly considered for the role, but it's possible they could have auditioned.
Yeah, I just can't see George being anyone else. That's for sure.
Now, on Howard Stern, this is actually 2 years before this. Maybe why Howard included Steve Buscemi, or maybe he's just throwing out names. But when he asked Jason Alexander, he said Chris Rock, Larry Miller, Brad Hall, and Nathan Lane. When asked about Steve Buscemi, he said, Buscemi, I had heard he auditioned. Now, this is Steve Buscemi. I never auditioned, he said on The Tonight Show on Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, he would know, right?
Yeah. I don't know where that came from, but it's been on my Wikipedia, IMDb, but I never did, and I don't know how to correct it because I don't know how the internet works. That's what he said.
I don't know how the internet works.
Just hilarious. At one point in the Howard Stern interview with Jerry Seinfeld, he suggests Andy Kaufman would have fit well.
Yeah.
And Jerry says, it's funny that you say that because Michael Richards is one of those parts where you could never cast somebody else. But now that you mention it, Andy would have pulled off Kramer. He is the only other name I've ever heard, now that you mention it, the only other guy who could have pulled off Kramer. And one last thing is that before we get into our we'll call it 5 favorites, I guess.
Yeah.
Chris Rock convinced Jerry not to retire from stand-up comedy. Now, he didn't convince him solely by a conversation or anything, but Jerry had gone to one of his comedy shows, and he said he laughed the entire show, and he started having second thoughts about staying retired.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what brought him out of retirement.
Yeah.
Also, one last thing. Jerry was offered $100 million to do a 10th season.
That is so much money.
Yeah.
100,000. I mean, 100 million.
But 100 million.
100 million.
And it was the highest, the highest paid at the time.
Well, yeah.
And he turned it down because he thought the show, I guess, had done its run, and he wanted to go out maybe on a high note.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Jim, why don't you start us off with one of your faves?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have these numbered, but they're not in any order.
Yeah, right.
Because if you think about it, there's 180 episodes.
Yeah, 180 to choose from. We're just doing 5 each today.
So these are mainly ones that stood out to me. Because there are, I'm sure, some that I don't remember a lot of, what happened in the episode.
Right.
Because they were all called The. But this is one of my favorites. The Merv Griffin set.
Cool.
Okay. This is actually season 9.
Wow.
So if you think the writing went downhill after Larry David left, there's still some great shows that were written, till the end. This was episode 6. So the show starts out with Jerry and Kramer walking down the street. Now some of the shows, I don't know when it started, but they stopped doing the monologue.
Right,
in the beginning.
Pretty early on. I mean, a few seasons in.
What's strange is there were shows where there was monologue in the beginning and there was no monologue at the end. The first seasons had the monologue in the beginning and the end.
And some pieces in between. They received a couple.
And then they did away with the monologue completely. No monologue, and it just started like a little precursor, and then the credits. So in this episode, Jerry and Kramer, they're walking down the street, and of course they're having an odd conversation about Cain and Abel, and Jerry's talking about Kramer breaking his blender because he was trying to make gravel. So, these...
Can I borrow your blender? I need to make gravel out of rock.
So I've watched these episodes over and over, but, when you really study them, it's like you notice some things that maybe you didn't notice before.
Right.
Kramer finds the old Merv Griffin set in a dumpster.
Yeah, and he has to have it. Right.
Yeah. And I love the quotes from these episodes, too, because Kramer says, 1 minute Elliot Gould is sitting on you, and the next thing, you're yesterday's trash.
He sets it up in his apartment.
Yeah, he sets it up. Yeah. A lot of the Seinfeld episodes, there's different things going on with different characters, but what I like is they all come together. Mm-hmm. Now, George is driving, he hits a pigeon. Now, the other part of this, besides the Merv Griffin set, is Jerry, his girlfriend, Celia, mm-hmm. He's at her house, and he notices her toy collection. He's obsessed with it.
Right, I remember this one.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And she's got and I think they were her father's. Mm-hmm. And he's just obsessed with the toys. And then we got Elaine. This is the other, and there's a new guy, Lou. Who just appears out of nowhere. They call him a sidler. She'll turn around and he's just there.
Yeah, by her side.
Yeah, we're at the diner. George tells Jerry that he hit some pigeons, and he says, "Don't we have a deal with the pigeons?" And Jerry says, "Of course we have a deal. They get out of the way of our cars, and we look the other way on the statue defecation." Now, so Kramer sets up this Merv Griffin set in his apartment. Mm-hmm. There's the curtains, like he's got this blue sparkling curtain. So when you walk in the apartment, you're on.
Yeah.
Kramer's sitting there.
And speaking of on, Kramer is completely on. He is so in the zone and so into hosting, right? He's the host.
Yeah. So Jerry gets a phone call, and Kramer goes, "Jerry, we'd love to have you back anytime." Anyway. So George has this problem with the pigeons. He eventually hits a squirrel, and which he has to take to the vet. Mm-hmm. So George takes the squirrel to the vet, and his girlfriend says, "Doctor, is the squirrel going to live?" And doctor says there's been massive trauma. We could, of course, try to save him, but it would be costly, difficult, and we'd have to send away for some really tiny instruments. And then George asked how much it would cost to have the squirrel put to sleep, and he said the doctor says it's by the pound, and it would be 80 cents. But his girlfriend doesn't want to do that because they're tiny creatures.
80 cents.
Yeah.
It's not much anesthesia, for the squirrel.
Oh, so this is the other thing. Jerry's at his girlfriend's apartment, right? So she says she has a headache. He goes into the bathroom, and he finds medication.
Right.
And the first one says, may make you drowsy. The next one says, will make you drowsy. Mm-hmm. So he basically puts her to sleep so he can play with the toys. Right? The next time at the apartment, this is what I like about it. It progresses to George is there. Mm-hmm. Oh, George and Jerry are there, and they're eating turkey.
Yeah.
And she's asking, there's something in this that makes you sleep, right? And there's a big box of wine. They're pouring wine for
turkey, wine. What else do you want? Yeah.
And I think that's the one. And then eventually Elaine's playing with the Easy Bake Oven. And in the background is Jerry's girlfriend with her head back at the table, just passed out, so they can play with the toys. Yeah. So this is a really good one, and it ends with eventually Kramer decides they need to up the show. He actually believes this is a talk show, so he gets a guest to come on, and it's some animal expert. So,
and you're trying to picture the Merv Griffin set fitting into a New York Manhattan apartment.
Yeah, at one point,
exactly how much can you fit in?
Yeah,
there?
At one point Jerry asks him where he's going to sleep, and he says backstage.
It's a good one.
So we're going to do a little trivia.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Hit me, Jim.
So when Jerry first goes over to his girlfriend's apartment, what toy does he grab after saying Super Bowl? He sees this toy and he goes, Super Bowl.
I don't remember him saying Super Bowl, but I do remember he went and he of course picked out a toy or two that the first thing I think of is Superman.
Oh, I have it. Oh, here's a multiple choice.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. A, an Etch-a-Sketch. B, a G.I. Joe doll. C, a Mr. Potato Head. Or D, a Gumby.
But he says Super Bowl?
Well, he says like he won the Super Bowl.
Oh,
Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'm going to go with G.I. Joe.
You were right.
Yes. All right, so Jim, one of my favorites, and possibly my favorite of all time, one of the five, you have in the cafe, Tom's Diner, you have Jerry and Elaine and George. And George decides that his life is a mess, nothing's going right, and he's going to do the opposite.
The opposite.
Great opening scene just right away. Elaine says that woman at the counter is looking at him, and he says, well, before that, though, he is going to do the opposite. So he orders a different sandwich. He starts out with a different sandwich. And Jim, I'm going to start out with a trivia here on the opposite. What kind of sandwich did George order that was the opposite of his usual? You get your choices here. Was it tuna on toast, hot ham and cheese, chicken salad on rye, or Reuben on wheat?
Chicken salad on rye.
That's right. Ding, 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 ding.
I was just guessing.
Yeah, well, you got it. So, because you remember that Jerry was saying that, tuna is not the opposite of chicken, and salmon is, because they swim up or downstream. So George goes over and says to the woman at the counter, I'm unemployed and I live with my parents. And she sees that as a turn on. There's many quotes, and there's a lot going on this one here. Jerry says, if every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite would have to be right. He says, then I guess your Messiah would be the Antichrist. And I love that. This episode is great. Of course, George is doing the opposite. He goes in to get hired where George Steinbrenner...
Oh, yeah. Yankee
Stadium. Yeah. So he's in an interview and just speaks his mind, and it's really outrageous. And then he meets Mr. George Steinbrenner, who it's actually the voice of Larry David.
Yes. Yeah.
And you knew that. So
now, is this the first episode where George is working?
It'd have to be, because he's getting hired here. Yeah. So this is how he gets hired, by speaking his mind and just slams the Yankees, just slams George Steinbrenner, and he just says three words: hire this man. He says, hire this man. But Jim, what I really love about this episode is there's really other important ones. This is the coffee table book that Kramer is writing. Yeah, it's that episode. He gets on Regis and Kathy Lee. Of course, he spits coffee over everybody. You remember that. And it is a coffee table book.
That turns into a coffee table.
Yes. It
folds up.
It's a coffee table book about coffee tables. And it folds up into...
And I think it's big, too.
Yes, it's a large book. And folds up into a coffee table. This is also the episode where Elaine is waiting for her boyfriend at the movies. Here she's in a terrible car accident. So what does she do? She stops and gets some juju fruits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's there at his bed, and he's all messed up from the car accident. And he's like, where'd you get those? And he just slams her, probably breaks up with her, because she went ahead and got not only juicy fruits, but popcorn. Yeah. And then came and saw him, which I don't think is a great offense. Actually, I would probably do that as well, because, they're not dying.
He's not going anywhere.
No, they're not going anywhere. They're not dying. Yeah. Maybe you could share them. But, and then also, everybody has a storyline. This is one where Jerry is even Steven. No matter what he does, it always comes back and evens out. So he's even Steven with that. So yeah, I just love the opposite, and with all these 4 storylines in this one are great.
Okay, my next one is The Doll.
No buzzer on that one. No dinger on that.
Season 7, episode 16.
The Doll.
So this starts out, Seinfeld, he's in Memphis at the Friars Club, and he runs into this woman named Sally Weaver, played by Kathy Griffin. When she was funny.
Yeah.
And she was on more than one Seinfeld episode. This isn't going to be a trivia question, but I noticed something behind Jerry, and it's a poster for a concert. And there's 3 bands listed on it.
Right.
The headliner is Girls' Bones Found.
Wow.
And another Little Monster and Pumping Ethel. ETHYL.
Yeah.
Like pumping gas.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
So Sally gives Jerry a wedding present for George and Susan. So remember, they were engaged.
Yes, I saw an episode with Susan on it recently.
So Jerry's got to carry this package on the plane. It's huge, right? And he also has barbecue sauce he bought because he's going on the Charles Grodin show.
Mm-hmm.
And because he found the barbecue sauce that has a guy on the label that looks like Charles Grodin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he's on the plane, the stewardess comes over to him and wants to put his bag up in the storage,
overhead.
unit. And you can hear the bottles, you can hear something smash.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next scene is the diner, and George is talking to his father,
mm-hmm.
Jerry Stiller, mm-hmm. who is always hilarious.
Yes.
And we find out that he was born in Tuscany,
mm-hmm.
and he goes on about that he could never be president.
Right.
And so then the other character in this is the Maestro. He was in another episode, and I think it was called The Maestro.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine is at the diner too, and she says that she ruined a photo. The running joke is there's a photo of the three tenors,
mm-hmm.
and they can only remember two of the guys' names.
Okay,
but not the other guy they keep calling him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jerry has an opportunity because somehow the other guy is going to be on the Charles Grodin show that he's going to be
mm-hmm.
on. She gets a poster, so she wants to get it signed because that's the Maestro's favorite tenor, the other guy.
The other guy.
Yeah. I know it's Luciano Pavarotti,
mm-hmm.
Placido Domingo.
Yeah, Placido Domingo.
And the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you can't name the other guy.
No, I don't.
Okay. So then we're in the apartment. Kramer tries to salvage the barbecue sauce. Jerry asks him what he's doing. I don't know. There's some weird things go on in these episodes because out of the blue, Kramer, he starts talking about styrofoam and he starts imitating Jerry. And he says, "Why do you need all this stuff? And why do they make them so small?" And Jerry says, "Where's the punchline?" And Kramer has this stupid, stern, look on his face.
Right.
He says it's all in the attitude. So
right.
I found that funny. So George comes over, he opens Sally's gift, and it's a this isn't a trivia question, but do you remember what the gift was?
No, I don't.
It was a doormat.
Interesting.
That says the Costanzas on it. Oh, George tells Jerry that she's an executive with Federal Express.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry says, "Is she out of her mind? Why didn't she just ship it?" Sally works for Federal Express and has Jerry deliver this gift on the plane and everything.
Right.
We aren't even at the doll yet.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that George's father, Frank,
mm-hmm.
he's converting George's. I find this episode. This is probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, even though like I said, I didn't number these. I kind of numbered them, but this has got to be one of my favorites because there's a lot of different things going on in here, but they're all freaking hilarious.
Right.
Frank converts George's room to a pool room. And there's barely enough room for the table.
Right.
So the scene where they're playing pool, that Kramer's knocking the blinds off the wall.
Mm-hmm.
They're just knocking things off the walls. And then I noticed there's a sign on the wall that says "Rule of the house: keep your butt and butts off the table."
Mm-hmm.
So then we find this is where we get to the doll. Is George's fiance is moving in with George, and she brings her doll collection.
Oh.
But one looks like George's mother. Exactly like his mother. And we see George laying in bed with his girlfriend with the doll.
Yeah.
And George says, "I can't do this. I feel like I'm in bed with my mother." And he puts a pillow over her head. Right. So Kramer and Frank, they go visit the Maestro. So the Maestro has a part in this because the Maestro is from Tuscany.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Costanza is told, I think he's told by Elaine, because she was there too, and she has a photo of this guy that looks like Frank.
Right.
And he's standing in front of a place that says Costanzas. Mm-hmm. So Frank thinks it's his, I think it's his cousin. He thinks it is. So this is where Frank and Kramer go visit the Maestro to talk to him more about this guy. And they also find out he has a weird habit. So his pants won't crease. He takes his pants off and hangs them over a chair.
Yeah.
So this comes into play with when Frank Frank and Kramer back playing pool.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have their pants on. Okay. And George's mother comes in, and Frank is trying to make a shot, and Kramer is hovering over him, like helping him.
Yeah.
And they both are wearing their boxers.
Right.
And
it's very upsetting.
I think she looks at him, and I don't know if she says what's going on in here. She's confused.
Yeah, I bet.
And then the maestro's there, and Kramer starts shooting pool with the his baton,
mm-hmm.
right? So that comes into effect at the end where he's conducting an orchestra, and the baton is bent, because Kramer was playing pool with it. And then the pants thing comes in. Jerry's getting ready to go on the show. He's backstage,
right?
And he has his pants hanging over the chair. Well, the other tenor is sitting there eating spaghetti, and he turns around and wipes his hands on Jerry's pants. So that's pretty funny. And then we end up with Elaine. Elaine has to get through the city, all kinds of stuff with this poster. She does get it signed, and he signs his name. She can't hardly read it, so she's like trying to pronounce. She still doesn't know what his name is.
Still trying to figure out the name, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And then it ends up where Frank actually goes to Tuscany, and he meets the guy. The guy says his name is Giuseppe, and Frank says, "Okay, I guess I was wrong." And that's where, and he like turns around and leaves, and he goes all the way to Tuscany to find this guy.
Yeah.
So here's your question.
Okay.
What does Frank call George's newly converted bedroom, pool room? There's a name he gives it. Is it A, the place around the corner, B, the room of billiards, C, the place to be, or D, Costanza Cosmo Billiards?
Oh, that's a hard one. What was B again?
The room of billiards.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the room of billiards.
It was the place to be.
The place to be.
And that's mentioned when Frank and Kramer are meeting with the maestro, and they invite him over to he tries to come up with, and he's, what do we call it? The place to be, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, good. All right, Jim, my next one starts off with Jerry and George at a tennis match.
Okay.
And Jerry just is so distracted, he's not even watching the tennis match. And neither is George, because George is
this the Bette Midler?
Because George is hungry. But Jerry can't keep his eyes off the beautiful lineswoman. So no dings there for me. All right. So he just can't. He's got to figure out. And he's trying to think of what he's going to say to her. And George says, "What are you going to say to her?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to say hi." And George is like, "You think you're going to get somewhere with that?" So finally, Jerry goes down to talk with her. The match is over, and he just can't keep his eyes off the beautiful lineswoman. And it's played by Mary Matlin.
Okay.
Mary Matlin stars in this. And so my question is, because I got to start out with the trivia, otherwise, I'm going to say it later. What were Jerry's first words to the beautiful lineswoman? Okay. Is it A, get out of here? B, what are you, deaf? C, I can't see, you're in my way. Or D, how do you handle these balls?
Well, it's got to be B, because she is deaf.
Correct. You got it.
In real life.
Yeah. So he's saying all this stuff to her. Hey, I want to talk to you and stuff. And she won't give him any attention. Finally, she turns and looks and reads his lips and and he says, "What are you, deaf?" And she says, "Bingo." Yeah. So it goes on with that. And there's other sidelines with the other characters. Kramer wants to be a ball boy. And of course, they discuss that you have to be a boy to be a ball boy. Yeah, he tries out. He gets it. And he's a good ball man. So he's a ball man. George, his girlfriend, sees him on television eating the ice cream sundae. It's all over his face. And they have discussion whether, being a messy ice cream eater is enough to break up with you or not. And, that's to be determined later. But she uses, "It's not you, it's me." He gets so upset with her because he says, I invented it's you, it's me.
Yeah.
You know, it's not you, it's me. You can't use that on me. I invented that. So that's a great thing. Elaine, along with the deaf linesman, Elaine is whenever she's riding in cabs, the cab drivers won't shut up, so she pretends to be deaf. Well, she gets caught. They call her out on it.
Yeah,
and she gets caught in that. So of course, everyone wants to use the woman who can read lips. This is called the lip reader. This episode, everyone wants to use her. You know, Newman wants to pay to use her. So they go to a party, and you probably remember this. And they're trying to find out what these two people are saying, and something spills, and the people across the room talk about cleaning it up and sweeping. Will you sweep with me?
Nice.
So they, of course, everything explodes in comedic furor, and it's insane. Got another trivia question for you.
Okay.
Regarding the lip reader, what did Jerry say to offend the lip reader? This is when they're in the car and they're after a date. So what did he say? A, you're a beautiful lineswoman. How about 6? Because 6 o'clock would be good for the next day. I've heard a lot about you, or you don't say.
What was the second one?
It's you're a beautiful linesman. How about 6? I've heard a lot about you, or you don't say.
I'm going to say, how about 6? Because it sounds like
sex. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And he said, am I going to see you again? And she says, yeah. And he says, tomorrow's good. How about 6? 6 is good. So she leaves on that note.
She doesn't read lips very well.
Yeah, 6 and sex are actually very close in lip reading, right?
Okay, so my next one it's from season 8, episode 16.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with a Phil Rizzuto keychain that George gets that says, keeps saying holy cow, which was Phil Rizzuto. And it's called The Pothole. So it starts out, Jerry drops his girlfriend's toothbrush in the toilet.
You can see where that's going.
So that's how the episode starts. There's no monologue on this one either. Now George gets a Phil Rizzuto keychain that says holy cow that Steinbrenner gave to the employees for Phil Rizzuto getting into the Hall of Fame. Kramer tells George that he was driving and he ran over a sewing machine on the Arthur Burkhart Expressway, and Kramer brings in the sewing machine. Like, he shows it to him. Right. And Kramer sees the keychain and he says, look at that, a talking Nixon. So he thinks it looks like Richard Nixon. So the other story in this, well, that's one. First, it's Jerry with the toothbrush, George with the keychain, and Elaine with the Elaine trying to get Chinese food from a Chinese restaurant. They won't deliver to the other side of the street. Okay, because I don't know if it's not a different town, but they won't deliver. And she wants this. It's Supreme Flounder, and first time served in America. That's what this restaurant boasts. She asked, "Is that true?" And he just says, "What number?" And then he says, "Yeah, first time. What else?" You know, he just kind of glazes over. Then she calls back and orders in a different voice, orders food. Then we see Kramer burst into the apartment, and he announces he now owns a stretch of highway. And then we have George. He loses his Phil Rizzuto keychain in a pothole. Elaine meets the delivery man on the street, and she pretends she lives in the apartment across the street, but she ends up having to give the food back. So then Jerry, we see him, he's trying to sterilize, he buys all these products to sterilize his girlfriend's toothbrush. So he says, by the time I sterilize her mouth, she'll be able to eat off it. And he eventually tells her, because he gives her a new toothbrush with other dental hygiene products. And then I think Jerry's dreaming. His girlfriend goes to kiss him. I don't know, he's having visions of the toothbrush falling in the toilet.
Right. Can't kiss his girlfriend.
Yeah. Elaine and Jerry are in the car, and they drive by Kramer. He's on the side of the road picking up garbage. And Kramer goes, "Hey, Jerry, see you back at the house." And so they drive down he owns a stretch of highway now, so he's got to take care of it, right?
Okay, yeah.
So then Elaine tries to get someone from the building across the street to have food delivered to him from the Chinese restaurant, and he slams the door in her face. Mm-hmm. And while she's in there, she notices a janitor's closet. So this is her ploy, is to have the food delivered to the janitor's closet. Now we see Kramer. He's at Jerry's apartment. Mm-hmm. And this is one thing that comes up in our past, is someone we knew would collect road signs.
Yes.
So Kramer, he's not taking the road signs, he's not collecting them, mm-hmm. but he's cleaning them, for a stretch of the highway.
Yeah.
He wants to keep his section of the road spotless. Mm-hmm. He says, my mile is spotless. I mean, the big stuff was easy. Cinder blocks, air conditioners, shopping carts. He says, "Whoop." That's what he goes, "Whoop. I just roll them into the woods." Jerry says, "Yeah, that stuff's all natural anyway." And George walks in. He can't find it. He's frustrated. He can't find his keychain. And Kramer, because he now knows some construction crew people, mm-hmm. he offers their services to, this is the thing. He dropped it into the pothole, and the pothole was filled. So now Phil Rizzuto's down in the pothole. And eventually you see George, he's got a jackhammer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Phil Rizzuto, he actually busts the water line. And there's a lot going on in here. And he busts the water, and by the end of the episode, the toilet in Jerry's apartment, his girlfriend's in there. She hears a noise. She goes into the bathroom, and the toilet just explodes, and she's soaking mm-hmm. wet.
Yeah.
And Jerry says something like, "I'm done," or something like that. But the funny thing is, Kramer decides he's going to make the 4-lane road 2 lanes. He buys black paint, and he's in his car, and he's hanging out the car, and he's painting the lanes. And then I think there's so many problems. There's some news story about cars backed up, or he decides he's going to clean the paint off the road, and he's got this huge drum of paint thinner. Well, of course, he's taking it out of his car, and the lid pops off, goes all over the road. Mm-hmm. Newman, he's delivering fish for this Chinese place, I guess, in his mail truck.
Yeah.
So Newman's in his mail truck, and he's mm-hmm. singing 3 Times a Lady. I don't know if that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Once, twice. And Newman runs over a sewing machine, right? And it's underneath his truck, and I still laugh at it, and it's sparking and everything. Yeah. And he gets to the section, we don't see Kramer, but he gets to the section where all the paint thinner is spilled, right. And the truck just goes up, is engulfed. The front of the truck is engulfed in flames. And Newman says, "Oh, the humanity,"
Right, because the sparks from the sewing machine underneath the vehicle would ignite the whole thing. Yeah, okay.
Oh, we do see Kramer. Mm-hmm. He's by his car, and Newman is walking. He's burnt. He's not disfigured, mm-hmm. but he looks like his clothes are burnt. And Kramer says, "Hey, buddy, what are you doing down here? What are you doing out here? Did you see the fireball?" And Newman's walking like a zombie, and we hear police sirens. And Kramer says he has to skedaddle, and he offers Newman a ride, but Newman keeps walking, and then we hear a scream. Mm-hmm. So at the end of that. So here's your trivia.
Okay.
Oh no! Wait a minute. I already answered this question. So
yeah. That's sometimes.
What item of Jerry's did his girlfriend put in the toilet?
Yeah.
Okay, so we already got that one.
All right.
I should have noted that.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one I have for you starts out with in Tom's Diner. We got George and Jerry. It's a typical scene, right? Mm-hmm. George is just complaining about life. It's really like the way the opposite started. And Jerry says, "Well, you've only got another 50 years." Can't say it. It's so funny. "Well, you've only got another 50 years, then it'll all be over." Mm-hmm. So Elaine comes in and talks about her volunteering at the old folks' home. So this is called The Old Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I have notes on that one.
Yeah, it's good. So they all, of course, because this is Seinfeld, they all decide to go ahead and get a client. They all get someone elderly to visit. Mm-hmm. We have let me see. I'm going to start out with your trivia.
Okay.
Because it doesn't go so well with George. George actually in this episode it's short because he doesn't hit it off with his man. So how does George help his elderly client? A, gives poor advice for success. B, offers to buy him lunch. C, tells him he's going to die soon. Or D, offers to bathe him.
D.
Offers to bathe him. No, actually, he goes on and on about how old the man is and about how he doesn't have much time left.
Oh, okay.
George ends with saying, "You know, you're really pushing the envelope here." The guy has more positive thinking and more life in him than George, and he just leaves. In fact, he says, quote, "Life's too short to waste on you." And he walks out of George.
Nice.
This is also the episode with Kramer and Newman collecting LPs. You probably remember that. Yeah, you know this one well.
Well, I noticed some episodes with music, so I do have some notes on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're collecting LPs. They go to Jerry and they try to get this junk off his hands, right? Mm-hmm. And what do? They go and what does the guy say about Jerry's stuff? It's junk.
Yeah.
He wants to give him $5 or $5 for like all of it. So of course Newman and Kramer come back to Jerry's apartment and just tear into him about, what are you listening to? What is this crap? You know? So.
And it's Bleecker Bob's.
Yeah, it is Bleecker Bob's, and we were there once. Yeah, back.
And the guy that's playing the record store owner, his name's Tobin Bell.
Okay.
And he's most famous for the Saw movies.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, I remember the store.
He's in horror movies.
Okay.
So,
yeah. I thought you were going to tell me it was Bleecker Bob.
No.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Jerry's man is really rude. I don't know who it's played by. A great old man who is Jerry's old man. Very rude. And he has the caregiver there in the home, that old man, who's from some African country. It might be Ghana. Okay. And she speaks no English. George comes on to her. He just wants to, of course, rub his head with oil and rub it all over her body, you know. And they almost get a chance to do that. They're later interrupted for that. But Jerry's old man has an LP collection he wants to get rid of.
Yes.
So they're all in there. There's 5 or 6 of them in there. It's chaos. And, you know, all chaos ensues, including the old man's dentures being thrown down the sink. Yeah. And George gets him in the garbage disposal, chops him up. So then you have lawyers involved and the social worker from the place. It's quite chaotic. So Elaine, and she has a woman that she relates to. And, of course, she's unusual because she has a giant goiter the size of a football on her neck. Yeah. So, of course, Elaine can't look at her. But Elaine does take interest when she finds out something special about her old lady.
Okay.
And that's your another trivia question, which I think you can get because you know this episode well. And who did Elaine's old lady have an affair with? Was it A, George Steinbeck, B, Mohandas Gandhi, or C, Lyndon B. Johnson?
Gandhi,
yeah, yes. Right. So you've got that one. Mm-hmm. And so, this is all of them trying to volunteer and different things, of course, happening with them. Anything else from this episode, Jim, you can think of?
Yeah, I found it funny about the Sergio Mendes comments when they go to turn in the albums.
Oh, right.
And they say Sergio Mendes has a cult following, and Newman says they follow him like a cult. I don't know. And then, when they go, I think when they say, "What kind of stuff are you listening to?"
Right.
And then Sergio Mendes comes up again, and Kramer says that guy can't even go to the bathroom in South America. Can you imagine? It can't even go to the bathroom in South America.
Not like continent.
Not like when you're out and about.
Yeah.
But all of South America, he just can't go to the bathroom. He's so famous,
right?
You know, and he's still alive. He's 79. He had the song "Never Gonna Let You Go" in the 80s. That was 80s hit. Anyway. Mm-hmm. So
what do you got next?
Next is season 3, episode 6, "The Parking Garage."
Good.
Which we mentioned before. Mm-hmm. Think they're coming out of a mall. Is that correct?
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
But Kramer, he bought an air conditioner.
Right, of course. Like the smallest thing you can get at a mall, but the heaviest thing you can get. Yeah.
And again, this one is there was no studio audience. And you also don't see Jerry's apartment. There's only a couple episodes where probably a Chinese restaurant, you might not see Jerry's apartment. So the whole premise is they can't find their car. And I actually worry about this. If I'm in a huge, like if I'm at a concert, you make sure you know where you park. Or if you're with a couple people, you try remember we're in 6B. Or,
right.
Or you put it in your notes in your phone.
And and the rare time in your life that it happens to you, it catches you off guard. Like what?
Yeah, and you could be embarrassed just walking around because people know you can't find your car. And Elaine, she bought a goldfish, which does not make it to the end of the episode. And Jerry has to go to the bathroom. So Kramer convinces Jerry, I guess, just to go to the bathroom behind a car or something. And Kramer puts the air conditioner down. He puts it next to a car, behind a car. And Jerry says, "Are you afraid someone is going to pee on it?" And George, he has plans. It's his parents' anniversary, so he's trying to get home.
Oh, right, he has to be somewhere. Right. Yeah, I remember that now.
They're walking around for a while. Jerry says we need a system, and he says you should always bring a pad and a pen. And George says, "This is the funniest freaking thing. I can't carry a pen. I'm afraid I'll puncture my scrotum."
Most people carry it somewhere else. Behind the ear, right? In your back pocket, on a side pocket, if you got painter's pants. There's a lot of places you can carry a pen.
Now, I can imagine watching this when I watched it the first time. I probably couldn't stop laughing, but I forgot about that.
Right.
So anyway, Jerry ends up peeing, and a security guard notices him, and he's being held. I couldn't figure out. He's being held, but then he's released. I say he's arrested, but and he tells the cop he has no control over it. Doctors have told me that when I feel it, the best thing to do is just release it. Otherwise, I could die. So now they're trying to find Jerry because they don't know what happened to Jerry. And I guess Jerry tries convincing the security guard that he wasn't really peeing. He was just pouring water out of a bottle. And Elaine is trying to get someone to drive them around the parking garage to find the car. And then George has to go to the bathroom, and George gets arrested. He tells the security guard the same story as Jerry.
Right.
So now they don't believe him. And then they do get a ride, and they get kicked out of the car because they offend the woman because she's a Scientologist.
Can't remember why that was. Yeah.
So then eventually they can't find Kramer. This was the thing. There's a girl in the beginning, and George didn't want to. Jerry's trying to convince George to talk to this girl, and he doesn't know what to say to her. And this is the girl that drives them around. Yeah. Eventually, in the beginning, Kramer. I swear he says it's a man. That's a man. Yeah. And then they finally, of course, find the car, and I think it's around 7:45, 8 o'clock. So George, of course, is not going to take his parents out to dinner. So this is I kind of answered it for you, but how does the episode end?
Okay.
Is it A, the car they think is theirs isn't really their car? B, Jerry forgot when he was in the mall that he had to buy shoes and he has to go back. C, Kramer has to pee and they can't go anywhere till he finds a place to pee. Or D, the car won't start.
Gonna go with Kramer having to pee.
No, it's D, the car won't start.
After all that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, Jim, the next one I got here is starts out with a phone call. A occasional friend of Jerry's is calling him on the phone.
Okay.
It's Crazy Joe Davola.
Yeah.
And it's really bizarre because he's talking to him and he's saying, Jerry. And he's like, I got a hair in my mouth. And it's bizarre. Like, I mean, it could have been improv. He could have been instructed to be weird. I mean, it's crazy. It's Crazy Joe Davola.
Yeah, he's got to be crazy.
Yeah, but got a hair in my mouth. and Jerry's like in some other people that he's done this in over the 9 seasons, trying to avoid somebody, you know. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to avoid Crazy Joe Davola. And my question, I'm going to start out with the question here. If you remember Crazy Joe Davola,
yeah,
what did Joe Davola threaten to put on Jerry? Was it A, a hex, B, the kibosh, C, the curse of the ninja?
Is that it?
Yes, it's ABC.
The kibosh.
Yes, I'm going to put the kibosh. And let's talk all about the kibosh. You know, I didn't look it up or anything. Maybe the kibosh, is it Yiddish or something? You know, that could be.
Maybe it's a word for hex.
Yeah. So I think it's, he threatened to put the kibosh on.
Or do something, to do something that will do you in somehow.
So not as much going on with George and Kramer in this as much as Elaine. Mm-hmm. Elaine has her boyfriend Joey, and he's a great guy. He's just a great guy. He's kind of chill, you know, he's very chill actually. Well, she went to his apartment and she found all these pictures. He has been photographing Elaine for a long time, a very long time, and it's her everywhere. Maybe including the bathroom. So she's in his apartment and she goes to leave, and he comes out from behind the door. He shuts the door. And she has to find a way to escape. And I don't have it actually as another trivia question, but do you remember what she sprays? She sprays something in his face. It's a cologne or something. And I didn't research it as much, but she has to spray it on his face. And so, you know, throughout the whole time, they're trying to they want to go to the opera. This is called the opera. Okay. And out of nowhere appears a clown. And it's Crazy Joe Davola as a clown, right? Yeah. So not much more on this one, except that in the end, they're not even disclosing it. I think they just end it with them both discovering that indeed Crazy Joe Davola, the hated friend, is actually Elaine's boyfriend, Joey. It's one and the same. They didn't know it the whole time. They're two different storylines brought together, and they talk about Joey. Joe, he's talking about Joe Davola and how much he doesn't like him. He's trying to get away from him, and she talks all the time about Joey. Joey's a nice guy. He's great and everything. And at the end, it comes together at the opera.
They're the same.
And he's dressed like a clown, and he's wanting to be with both Jerry and Elaine, but he's Crazy Joe Davola.
Okay, so this is the last one.
Yeah, and I got one more after that. Yep.
So it's season 3, episode 14, The Pez Dispenser.
Oh, love that one. Yes.
George, he's really enamored with his new girlfriend, Noelle. She's a pianist, a classical pianist. She plays the piano. She played the Volstein Sonata. We did a crossword puzzle together in bed. It was the most fun I ever had in my entire life. Jerry coming out of the bathroom. Were you talking? I couldn't hear anything. So George is like really with the hand motion, and then Jerry's in the bathroom, and then we got the whole thing about the hand. I have no hand,
right.
Which means I have no power. Like I don't have the hand in decisions. He says no hand at all. She has the hand. Jerry says, "Hand me that, will you? We all want the hand. Hand is tough to get." So, you know, they go off of the one word. George invites Jerry to a recital, and Kramer comes in, and he wants Jerry to smell his arm. Now, this is also, besides the Pez dispenser, this is also where Kramer comes up with a cologne.
Okay.
I just have to...
that is the Hudson River. The Hudson River cologne?
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name was. That was my trivia question?
Well, that's what I'm seeing what trivia is. Oh, maybe I don't have one for this one.
Well, it's a cologne to smell like you just came out of the Hudson Bay.
Yeah.
Or the Hudson River, whichever was the case.
Actually, I don't have a trivia.
Yeah, that's right.
So Kramer has a Pez dispenser. Actually, do you remember what the Pez dispenser was?
Tweety, I believe.
You should.
Tweety.
Back when I got married.
Yes.
96. I got all my groomsmen Pez dispensers because it must have been this episode came out.
Yeah, right in there. Were they all different or were they all Tweety Bird?
They were all Tweety Bird.
Yeah, right.
Jerry wants to know, Kramer said he bought 5 at the flea market.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry says to George, you think they have fleas there, don't you? And he comes out with, yes, you do, Biff. He calls him Biff.
That's right,
yeah.
Biff. I wonder if that was the first Biff. I remember Biff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they're at the recital, and Elaine is there too. And Jerry, in the middle of the recital, Jerry pulls out the Pez dispenser.
Hilarious.
And Elaine sees it, and she can't stop laughing.
Right, because they're in a place where you have to be completely quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
They're
why it's
silent.
so funny.
There's just her playing the piano.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear her as she's backing out of as she's going to the back of the theater, you can still hear her laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So then Elaine runs into her friend John. She's outside the building. And she tells John about the Pez dispenser, and he finds out that Jerry's there.
Right.
So then Jerry sits the Pez dispenser on the seat where, the empty seat.
Yeah.
And George gives him a dirty look.
Mm-hmm. And they could have just burst out laughing right then, too.
Yeah.
I think they were silent there.
So this is the other story is this guy, John. His name is John Malacca.
Mm-hmm.
He tells Elaine about their friend Richie Appel, who is a comedian, and how he's messed up on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts so much trust in Jerry, and he respects Jerry, that he wants Jerry to lead an intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So then Elaine comes back in, and she's there with George and Jerry, and she tells Jerry about she's trying to explain them that John wants him to do the intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry just looks at his Pez dispenser and says, these things are really hard to load. And he, totally ignoring her. And then they go backstage, and Noelle is really upset about the woman laughing. But they're not giving it up that it was Elaine.
Right.
Jerry
a certain laugh, a distinct laugh.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jerry says, you play a hell of a piano. That's what he says to her.
You play a mean guitar. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And Noelle, she's so upset. She says, I'll never forget that laugh for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. And they're still good. They're still good, right? They haven't disclosed it yet.
Yeah. So then this is the really weird part, is that Jerry and Kramer are at the diner.
Mm-hmm.
And Jerry reminds Kramer that he's the one that got Richie into drugs.
Mm-hmm. Because
they were at a comedy softball game, and Kramer convinced Richie to dump a bucket of Gatorade on Marty Benson's head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Marty, he owned a comedy club, and nobody liked him, they said. Marty gets pneumonia, and a month later he died. So Jerry says Richie was never the same. And Elaine says, what about Kramer? And Jerry says he's the same. So it goes into the whole beach thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kramer, he's trying to pitch it to this guy at Calvin Klein.
The beach. Okay, there you go. That's the name of it. Yeah,
the beach.
The beach. All right.
So George then tries to break up with his girlfriend, and they don't break up. So he now has the hand,
Mm-hmm.
And he says something weird like, well, didn't mean to hurt you, kid. Like he calls her kid.
Yeah.
So then the intervention, there's this weird guy talking to Elaine, telling her about his nosebleeds, and he has tissue stuffed up his nose. And then there's a guy that gets mad at Jerry, really mad. There's just some weird thing, because they gather all these people for this intervention. So there's some of these characters you haven't seen before. I don't even know if they have names. But this guy gets.
I remember the intervention part. Yes.
But the guy is yelling at Jerry because he doesn't have ice cubes, and he says, "I can't drink this. It's warm," and slams the can on the table. And then Kramer walks in and says, "Hey, is this the interference?" And then this other guy, I think it's the guy that works at Calvin Klein. He doesn't want Kramer there. He says he can't stay. Kramer is also. Because he smells like the beach is because he's been swimming with the polar bears, which is that group of
polar
people.
bear club. Yeah. Swimming in the wintertime in the Hudson Bay. Yeah.
So he brings these guys with him. So they're there, these old guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then the doorbell rings. People start to hide, and Jerry reminds people it's not a surprise party. And George and Noelle show up, and Elaine starts laughing at something one of Kramer's polar bear buddies says to Elaine. So Noelle tells George she's breaking up with him, and he's like, what did I do? Where are you going? And Noelle's walking out the door, and this is the best line. She says, I'm breaking up with you, and points at him. And George says, you can't break up with me. I've got hand. And Noelle says, you're going to need it.
I get it.
And George goes running after her.
Oh, you're going to need it.
And then Richie shows up, looks around. This is what's weird. Richie shows up and says, what's going on? And they don't go into the whole intervention.
Yeah.
Jerry tells George about the intervention, how Richie spots the Pez dispenser on the coffee table, and how he's hypnotized by it. I guess the punchline is that he's not on drugs anymore, but he's addicted to Pez.
Now he's gone into a different addiction. Yeah.
Oh, this was the other side story. Richie tells Jerry something he didn't know, is that Richie's father, when he was a kid, was loading a Pez dispenser and loses control of his car and crashes into a high school cafeteria. Nobody is hurt, but Pez is all over the car, and the dispenser was destroyed beyond recognition. So this is the whole, that Richie starts crying, and Jerry gives him the Pez dispenser. 2 hours later, he does check into a clinic. He's doing great on rehab, but he's hooked on Pez. So that's the punchline there.
Hooked on Pez.
Yeah. So I don't have any trivia for that one.
All right, Jim, we got one more from me, and it's appropriately named The Seven. Starts out with, you should remember, it starts out with Jerry and Elaine shopping in a toy store. It's kind of an antique store. It's got toys in it. And Elaine gets the 20-inch bike with the banana seat, the pink bike, which comes up later here. And Jerry meets the girl in the dress that does not come off. But then we go to the scene with George, and George is there with his girlfriend and another couple who are expecting a child. So they're talking about names. And I've already given you the title. The seven is is the name George plans on naming his first child. And of course, his fiancée, it's probably Susan, doesn't agree. She does not like seven.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Mickey Mantle's number.
Yes.
How can it be a bad name, right?
I thought that was going to be the trivia.
No. So trivia question, while they're there talking, the four of them, and the pregnant parents-to-be, and George and his girlfriend, what is the first name that George suggests as a baby name to his friends?
I think I know it when I hear it.
Yeah, you know when you hear it. So is it A, Mug, B, Betty, C, Soda, or D, John? Mug, Betty, Soda, John.
I'm going to say Soda.
You got it. So Soda, yeah. Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld must have said, what is the worst possible thing you could name a child? And
there's got to be names that nobody's ever...
Right. Yeah. So Soda was the name there. I already said that, the dinner, they're having dinner there. Susan yells in the car, no child of mine is ever going to be named Seven. And so they go on with that. Meanwhile, Kramer, side story, Kramer is keeping a running tab of all the food he's taken from Jerry. When he comes in, he has to write it down and put it in the fishbowl, put it in the jar, And then later it comes out that you actually have to pay for the entire thing. You can't take a bite of an apple and put a piece of paper in there, and then also a half can of soda. Yeah. So Elaine falls, and the bike fell on her in the store, and Kramer fixes her neck, but he doesn't really fix it. She promises him to give him the bike if he fixes her neck. Well, he fixed it, but then it went bad again. So there's this problem between Elaine and Kramer about who actually has the bike and who's going to get the bike. So they need a mediator. They need someone who's neutral, who's fair. Newman. So Newman is the judge. So Newman plays this up really well. He's being the judge. And he uses what's called the Solomon method. And this goes back to the Old Testament of the Bible. So they just go to a full representation of Solomon making this decision in the Bible. So it's pulled right out of the Old Testament. And what happens is the judgment is, Newman says, only the bike's true owner would rather see it given away than it come to harm. His verdict was to cut the bike in half. And Solomon, the king in the Bible, has to judge between these two women, and they both say the baby is theirs. And he says, cut it in half. And so the one who's not the true mother says, go ahead and cut it in half.
Yeah.
And the one who is the true mother says, okay, let her take the baby and let it live. And so that whole thing is played out with the bicycle, and Kramer rides off into it. The final story, though, in this episode is, of course, the woman in the black and white dress. Jerry's out with her. She even spills wine on it and has to go home and change. She's doing everything to get this woman to change. But finally, she's in her bathrobe at home and kicks him out the door. He never sees her change. He's seen photographs of her from 10 or 12 years earlier. She's wearing the same black and white dress.
Yeah,
so this goes into a discussion, ultimately the best discussion, and it is, what if she has only black and white dresses? If so, is it appropriate to is it appropriate to wash and keep washing? If not, if she doesn't have a big array of black and white dresses, how quickly do you take a piece of clothing?
Maybe she has 10 of the same dress.
Right. But the ultimate question is, when is a clean piece of clothing allowed to come back into the rotation? You know, like what if you've worn your blue shirt and then you wash it the next day, and then the next day you go and wear it again? People are going to see you 2 days later in that same shirt.
Oh,
so,
I am.
Yeah. So when does it come back into rotation?
I never wear the same shirt in the same week.
Yeah. So we all have our limits. You have it as a week.
Yeah.
So Jim, out of the four main characters, who do you relate to the most? Who can you see would be like you in personality? I don't know if you ever thought about that or not.
I was thinking, I'm not really neurotic, so I'm not, like George.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking more Jerry. I wouldn't say I'm a pretty clean person, but I'm not overly. I love cereal.
Right.
I'm pretty sensible, I think. Clear thinker, maybe like Jerry. I'm not crazy like Kramer.
Right.
And I'm not sure how we categorize Elaine. I'd say Jerry.
Yeah. And I would, Jim, I would see you as Jerry. Yeah. Okay. So I thought about it a little bit last night, and I was thinking, you can't really be as neurotic, as you say, as George, and as crazy as Kramer. So I think I'm a little bit personality like Elaine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Elaine, and the way she sees things and speaks her mind, but then sometimes not. But so I just thought it was interesting. Yeah. And I see you as Jerry.
So to end this real quickly, and I don't know if I'm trying to figure this out because I found out Jerry dated 38 different women over the 180 episodes.
Wow.
But it says the 9th season of the DVD series states that Jerry had 73 different partners. So I guess some people he didn't really date, but 73 different women. So think about it. There's unless some of them were, he was a partner more than once, but figure at least 38 different actresses.
It's a lot
to play.
And of course, it's an effort, as we talked about at the beginning of this segment, to not have anything long-standing or long-running, nothing sentimental, no relationship building, really. So
maybe on another podcast or next year, we'll talk a little bit more about Seinfeld and maybe get into the music, more of the music.
Right.
There are episodes that centered on music. We did talk about one today, the Old Man. Is that what it was called? Okay, so I think that we're going to end this.
All right, thanks for listening.
You've been listening to No Good Music, intro and exit music by the band 99%. Today's show is produced and edited by Rob J. Lilly and recorded at the Did You Say 7 Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find No Good Music on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Pandora, and almost anywhere you listen to podcasts.